Hey guys, Aaron from Inkie Beard here. Today I'm going to be endeavouring to make a super quick desktop tripod stand thingo. It is just about to rain here, which is amazing because it's been like 40 degrees every day, which is like 130 Fahrenheit or something insane. So yeah, it's been crazy hot. So nice and cool, just about to rain. I thought I'd quickly try and get this in before it's pouring and I don't have a chance to do it all week. So here's a super rough sketch of what I'll be making. I have this long piece of dressed pine, which at the moment I'm going to leave it the length it is, because Adele will be putting it on a windowsill so it can stay that length. I may cut it later, and we'll just put some weights on it. But I have these other pieces of, I believe they're dressed oak actually, and I'm going to secure them perpendicular, and then I'm going to cut them in half and have it so that I drill a hole through and have another piece in between two bits right in the middle, so that can go perpendicular again, so it'll make a big kind of box right angle above desk recording studio. So let's get into this thing, and hopefully I can measure twice and cut once, which is not usually how I do things, so we'll see how this goes.
Every precious minute of their 2.5 hours on the surface was programmed. Rock and soil samples were to be collected. Photographs taken. Experiments set up to catch unfiltered particles from the sun to record moon quakes, to measure precisely by laser beam reflection the exact distance between moon and Earth. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over. Setting up the flag now.
Okay, so my hanger bolt, which is a screw on the bottom end, a bolt on top, I got a 1/4 inch bolt, which is what your standard camera mount has on top of it. So you are currently sitting on top of the piece of wood because the hanger bolt is only halfway in. I wanted to double check that when I tilt the camera sideways, it's not going to fall out. Did it fall out? No? Seems pretty strong. What if I point you at the ground for half a second? Good. Sweet! Alrighty, so it's a few days later and it is finally finished. Now, slight change in design. I realized that when I put this piece on and had it coming straight out, one, I couldn't angle the camera at all. So if it was on a slight, if it needed a slight angle whatsoever, it just wasn't going to happen. And two, it was way too close. So I improvised with this kind of angular strut here, and I have 2 holes down here so that Adele can change how far back it is. And then I also put a number of holes through here so that she can have it at different heights, and this can obviously come down when the nut isn't quite so tight. And then at the top I just put a wing nut on the top here. I didn't actually know that, I mean it makes sense because it has wings and stuff, but I didn't know that wing nut was an actual thing. I thought that was just something you called people when they were being silly. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and now it's a lot more flexible, and it allows for a lot easier shooting. So I'll show you, I'll switch to my phone, so the quality of the video is going to change in a second. And there's the large piece down the bottom. Just got some weights on there to make sure that it can easily hold the weight of the camera out on the arm. Now, trick for young players, I should have drilled this hole a lot more, so that this had basically the size of the bolt. I should have drilled it all the way through, hollowed that out so that I could get this in a lot further. But what I might do is actually cover this with some wood or putty or something like that, because it does stick out quite a bit at the moment, but you know, it still works. So I'll show you what it looks like with the camera on it. Okay, so slight change in camera. Sorry for the rolling shutter, but here it is in action. You can see that it picks up the entire desk area and gives a really good shot of the desk. Very stable. I can rock the desk and the thingo doesn't move, so it does the job that it was designed for. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I just need to get one more wing nut for here. The wing nuts I bought for that size, the bolt is just ever so slightly too big. So even though they were M10s, for whatever reason the wing nut doesn't fit. So I'll have to get some slightly bigger ones. So anyway, I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I just want to run through the design super quickly. I started off with the top one. So the base piece of wood, which is a kind of, you could use a 2x4 or any kind of largish thick timber. It just needs to bear the weight of the rest of the arm and also the camera, which is going to be hanging out in front, so it's going to add a fair bit of weight to it, which is why, as you can see in the previous shot, I had the 2 weights sitting on top of it. But all I did was get some L brackets, and I just screwed those into the pieces of wood, which are, they're about 20 mil by, I think it's 3 mil, and those are just cut in half. I had 1.2 meter lengths. I cut those in half for the 60 centimeters, so I've got 2 on the outside and then 1 in the middle, just to make sure that it's super stable and that it can hold the weight of the camera. Then I switched to the bottom design when I realized that it would be way too close to the desk to be able to see enough of the desk, like with the album open completely, which Adele has a lot. She wants to get the full double page album in, so I added in the angled middle piece. As you can see down the bottom, you've got the 2 struts coming up directly vertical, and then you put one in between. Like I did, you can add in the extra holes to make it a bit more dynamic. You don't really need those because you could angle it, but that will mean that the camera comes further and further out from the back of the desk. So you would need to kind of factor that in. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's fairly simple to make. There's a couple of things I would do a little bit differently. For instance, when I was drilling the holes through the thinner pieces with the large, I believe it's like a 10mm drill bit, I would have probably just gone directly, maybe drawn the initial really tiny pilot holes, but then gone directly to the 10mm. I think I had an 8mm or an 8 gauge. I'm not completely sure if it's gauge or mil, but I had an 8 and then I went to a 10, and I think that made it a lot harder on me. If I'd just gone from the small pilot hole to the 10, would have been a hell of a lot easier. And as I mentioned with the hangers bolt with the camera mount, would have been much better to do a much thicker hole, so I could have got the hangers bolt a lot further into the wood. Other than that though, I am super happy with how it turned out. Please let me know if you also build your own one of these, or if you've got any improvements on the design, and I'm hoping to do a lot more DIY stuff on the channel. So give this a like if you like it, or if you end up making this or something similar, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!